Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel where you listen to me talk about Palantir so that my wife doesn't have to. My name is Eddie and you can follow me at FrugalBuck on Twitter. Today, I want to go over what went wrong in 2022, why the growth numbers didn't look great. I went through the 10K, got some answers, want to share them with you, so let's dive on in. Okay, so first off, I want to talk about a couple of issues that I had with the 2022 results. So first issue is in 2020 we had 49 customers, commercial customers, and in 2021 we had 147. That is a triple over a 12-month period. Absolutely amazing growth. It's really obvious to me and should be really obvious to everyone else why Palantir ran up from $10 to $40 in late 2020. And then you look at 2021 to 2022, we only had, in quotes, 77% growth. So 77% customer growth is absolutely massive, but it's nowhere near 200% year over year customer growth. So huge deceleration. I totally get the argument that it's harder to grow bigger numbers, but yeah, so deceleration and growth is, of course, going to bring multiples down. Next up, we have the cohort data, which I brought up in a previous video. Palantir didn't give this to us at the end of 2022. I think it's because the data didn't look as nice as they would have liked. That's the only explanation I can come up with. Yeah, they didn't give it to us. Why didn't they give it to us? If it looked great, I have a feeling they would have given it to us, and they didn't give it to us. So really unfortunate. I really liked this cohort data. And actually, that is what I found in the 10K, some original customer data, which is, you can kind of use to make some cohort data. All right, so let's just go over the commercial growth rate in 2022, which was atrocious, right? We're all invested in Palantir. We're all looking for the 30% revenue CAGR year over year. And I broke this all down into quarterly numbers so that we can dissect it a little better. So in Q4 of 21, we had $194 million in commercial revenue. And if you give that a 30% CAGR year over year, that should have been somewhere between $250 and $260 million. Year over year in Q4 of 22, we only had 215. So huge shortfall. But why did we have the shortfall? We come over here and we look at U.S. commercial revenue, which has been portrayed as the crown jewel of Palantir. So this portion of the company is supposed to be growing really, really well. It was growing really, really well, and it's actually not growing really, really well, at least not in 2022. So if we look at Q4 of 21, 70 million, it was growing pretty well through Q3 of 22. All the way up to 88 million, and then in Q4 of 22, all of a sudden a drop off of $11 million in a 1 quarter period. What happened there? What caused that? And actually, we got bailed out by the non-U.S. commercial business because it had a big spike in Q3 to Q4 of 22 million. So this 22 million offset this $11 million loss and made it look like, we're still growing, but at a really slow speed. But yeah, so each section grew around 10 or 11% if you compare Q4 to Q4. Not what we were looking for. We'd like to see 30%. We wanted to see this above 250 million. Didn't get it. All right, so I spent a lot of time making this for you guys. I went through, collected all the SPAC data, and then made this little table. So let's go through it. So in Q1 of 21, SPAC revenue was 0, then 3 million, then 19 million, then 29.3 million, then 39 million, then 31 million. And Q1 of 22 was actually the peak. And since then, we've been falling off. We're projected in Q1 of 23 to only do 15 to 17 million in SPAC revenue. So if you look at this, it's quite obvious that in 21, this was a huge tailwind for the company. In 22, believe it or not, it actually was a slight tailwind for the company, and we'll look at that a little later. But in 23, this is going to be a headwind. It's going to drag down because we're going to be comparing Q1 to Q1. So Palantir is going to have $25 million to make up. So it's going to be a tailwind. It's going to be a drag on the revenue when you're comparing year over year quarterly numbers. And then the commercial revenue, grew really well in 21 as a result of these SPACs partially. And then in 22, all of a sudden we started, 205, 210, 204, 215. The growth just stopped. We stagnated. And then, but if you look ex-SPAC, if you just take the SPACs out, which is really what we want to do because we're not doing the SPACs anymore. So we want to know what the true growth rate looks like. We've had pretty consistent growth. Q2 to Q3 of 22, we had a little bit of a fall, but, it's been pretty consistent growth there. And then we've got annual commercial revenue ex-SPAC. So what I found in the 10K was it talks about how much revenue they received from new SPACs in the year, and they talk about how much revenue they got from new customers in the year. So you can take both of those, take the amount of new customers, and slice and dice the numbers. So that's what I did. So in 2021, the new customer revenue was $98.4 million. The SPAC revenue was $48.3 million. And if you remove that SPAC revenue, then it was only $50.1 million new customer revenue for 2021. And then if you look at 2022, $96.8 million. So this is another reason that, the revenue numbers didn't look great. The new customer revenue was basically flat if you just look at new customer revenue. But they don't break it down to SPAC revenue unless you go into the 10K. Like, nobody spelled this out for us. So anyways, if you take that new customer revenue, subtract out the SPAC revenue, you get ex-SPAC revenue, ex-SPAC new customer revenue, which was nearly 70 million, which is actually quite a big jump from 50 million. So, 40% jump or thereabouts year over year. New customers in 2021, we had 98. 16 of those were SPACs. So if you take out the SPACs, 82. New customers in 22, 113. SPACs were 7. Take out the 7 SPACs, and we get 106 ex-SPAC. So then you divide the numbers. If you just look at new customer revenue divided by new customers, in 2021, we got $1 million in new customer revenue per new customer. But in 2022, we got $857,000 for revenue per new commercial customer. But if you remove the SPACs, then we actually get these real numbers over here. I really like these numbers. This is what I found. This is what I'm really excited about. So in 2021, Palantir collected, not counting SPACs, $611,000 per new customer in the year. And in 2022, Palantir collected more revenue per new customer of $658,000. So now that we have these numbers, we can, all we have left to do is project how many customers they're going to grow by, and then how much old revenue is going to grow by, and then we can add those up and get some good projections, which I believe is what is next. Yes, here we are. All right, so 2022 revenue, $1.9 billion. I assumed a 15% growth on that due to their 20 biggest customers growing 13% in 2022. And I think that the other half of the revenue will grow faster than 13%, hoping it averages out to 15%. So that would put us in the $2.2 billion neighborhood, which is around guidance, what Palantir told us that they're going to do. And then new customers in 2022 was 106. I'm going to go ahead and project 130 for 2023, which is 24 more. You multiply that by $630,000 per new customer, we get almost 82 million. Add that 82 million with the new 2.2 billion number, and we get, 2.275 billion thereabouts. or 19% year-over-year growth rate. 19% is still not what we want to see. I hope that it's higher, but I think that this is actually a pretty reasonable projection. It's still going to beat guidance, and yeah, I'd be happy with those numbers. And then lastly, I want to just talk about growth rates. So this is including SPACs. These top 4 numbers are 2021, and these bottom 4 numbers are 2022. And 23.6% year-over-year growth, if you look at it that way. These numbers over here are ex-SPAC. So if you look at the first 4 numbers, that's 2021. The second 4 numbers, that's 2022. If you do the math, that's 19.9% growth ex-SPAC. So all I want to point out here is that the SPACs actually are still a tailwind for 2022, but in 2023, I anticipate it's going to be a headwind. It's going to make it harder for Palantir to grow. It's going to be fighting against their revenue growth, which is going to make it a little more difficult for them. But anyways, that's the video today, guys. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye.